Hi, welcome to another edition of Health and Wellness Piece on Futures Present Past. So tonight we have two special guests. We have Staff Sergeant Major Kevin Edmondson, and we also have Marshelle Vernell. Both are big presence in the fitness arena. So I'm excited to bring them on and get to find out what they do to keep themselves healthy and stay on track and stay disciplined and get some tips to kind of carry us into the holidays. Hi.
Hi, how are
How
you?
great. How are you?
Excellent.
How are
I'm
you?
excellent.
Great. Give us some information. Introduce yourself to the audience and give us a little information about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Marshelle Vernell. I am from St. Louis. I am a mother of two and two beautiful sons. And I have been on this fitness path for, at least 30 years. I'm a nurse by education and trade of 40 years. And I have been in fitness actively for at least 30. And it
Okay.
started, yeah, my journey started kind of out of tragedy. I had two sisters that were diagnosed with breast cancer at the same time,
Oh,
and they
wow.
were both fighting the disease with chemotherapy and radiation, and they both expired the same year,
Oh, wow.
within a couple of months of each other. Um, at the time, I ate meat. I was a meat eater, and something intuitively in me told me just stop eating red meat. And I stopped eating red meat, and I've been on a path for exercise and wellness ever since.
Okay, thank you for joining us tonight. We have one more guest, Staff Sergeant Major Kevin Edmondson, and I'm still afraid to call him Kevin yet because he haven't taken off the uniform. This used to be my boss. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Just Kevin. Now, we can leave all the military stuff back in the army
Okay,
as
okay,
I
Kevin,
prepare for
Kevin.
this retirement ceremony that's coming up.
I know that's right.
Yeah, Kevin Edmonson, born and raised in Columbus, Georgia, retiring from the army right now after 30 years in service. Fitness, I think for me, it really started back when I was in seventh grade. My dad used to get me and my brother up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and take us to the gym to go work out. And I was an athlete, so I was using that as motivation to be a better athlete.
Mhm.
But it's just something that always stuck with me. So you know that's also something that I did to my sons and my nephew when they
Mhm.
were in high school.
Mhm.
Actually, I think I might have started when my youngest son was in middle school. But I would get them up at 4 or 5 in the morning. We'd go to the gym. They'd be in the gym, sleep on the bench. I wake them up, make them do a couple reps of bench press. But it's just something that's been a lifestyle. It's not anything I've ever done for profit, or, out of necessity. But it's just something that's always been part of my lifestyle. And with that, so I've fallen off of it sometimes and I've gotten back on it. Sometimes I've been in the best shape of my life and I've been in the worst shape of my life. But um, I also know that regardless of where I'm at, getting back on track and staying in shape and getting back to where I need to be is only a matter of discipline. So sometimes you just got to put your head down, focus, and stick to the plan for a little while.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I have to say this. I'll ask a series of questions, but I like to have a dialogue. So, Kevin, I'm going to start with you because I've
Okay.
known you for a long time, and I will tell the audience I am watching this man on Facebook, IG from when I was his specialist all the way up into now. And I promise you, over the years, you've seemed to age in reverse order. So, I want you to just share some of your discipline and fitness tips with everyone. And that's a true statement because I can go back and look at when I came to my first duty station probably in the early 2000s, and I promise you nothing has changed. You have literally I've watched you look like you've aged in reverse.
The hairline is starting to fall back a
Well,
little
I
bit,
mean,
but
that's Those are probably the hats, but
Nah, I don't know. I think for me, it's I heard Marshelle say that she stopped eating meat. I haven't necessarily stopped eating meat. What I do eat for the most part is chicken and fish. But
Mhm,
every now and then I have me a pork chop. Every now and then I have me a steak or something like that. I think
mhm.
for me, it's just whatever I do it in moderation and not overdo it. Um, you drink your water, try to eat healthy. When I'm really on my strict meal plans, I really focus on the lean proteins, the chicken, turkey, fish, greens. Um, just try to keep everything a little healthier than I would normally keep it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I think the reverse aging. I'm gonna have to maybe chalk that up to the genes because I don't think I've done anything specifically just to maintain a young appearance or anything. It's just how it's worked out for me. But when I was younger, interestingly enough, like back when I was in high school, I always looked older. So when it was time for us to go to the package store and buy our beer or whatever, I looked like I was old enough to buy beer, so I wouldn't get carded. But now that I'm older, I look younger. It's just I don't know. That's just how the cards fell for me, I guess.
Okay.
But fitness and health, I think I'm sure it plays a part in it. But I haven't done anything specifically to say, what, I just want to slow the aging process down or anything. I'm just trying to stay healthy. That's it.
I love it. And
I'll be 50 years old, and I'll be 50 years old in February, and I'm trying to be in the best shape of my life at 50. When I turned 45, I had a goal to be in the best shape of my life at 45, and I think I achieved that. So now it's time to do it again at 50.
nice.
Congratulations.
And Marshelle. So Marshelle and I met on a plane ride coming back from, I don't
Did.
know where we were coming back from. Um, but we connected in the sense that we found out our birthdays were the same and we had this love and passion for
Yeah.
fitness.
It's your
So
freeze.
just tell the audience how you got into it, and you were a competitive bodybuilder. So what has that been like? What was that journey like for you? And what do you do? What tools do you have in your tool basket for eating and just trying to stay healthy? And I have protein questions for both of you too, because I got
Okay.
to get it right.
Well, actually, I have always been very active. And I think when I turned 45 ish, I thought, you know what? I've always thought about competing. And
Hmm.
I was in the gym one day and a gentleman said, "Oh my God, I think you'd be great." And I was like, "Really?" My concern is I didn't want to look like a man. I've seen those bodybuilders and their muscle structure is more masculine than feminine. And I didn't want to lose my femininity.
Hmm.
So it was a challenge because I don't eat red meat. I do eat fish.
Hmm.
And so as we were training, when you compete and that was an all natural, you have to consume 29 grams of protein per meal. And you ate 3 hours, every 3 hours. So that was challenging in itself. So you can imagine, I learned to prepare all types of fish
Hmm.
because I wasn't like, I know a lot of guys that do the bodybuilding thing, they open up a can of tuna and they just eat it out the can. I couldn't do that. So I learned to go out. There's a market in St. Louis called Soulard Market, and it has fresh seasonings. So I would go to Soulard and I would get me different types of fish. I even would put sardines on the grill
Hmm.
just to give me something different to eat. And had to eat, tons of vegetables. And so the interesting thing as a bodybuilder, most bodybuilders will eat the lean beef and chicken until the last month. Then they go to fish only. Well, if you can imagine, all I ate was fish. So
Hmm.
I had a little advantage. I think I leaned out a little faster and better than most athletes because I didn't take any of that fat in.
Hmm.
So that was pretty interesting. And the way I got in shape when I would train, thank God I do say that I do have really good genes because my mother had some amazing calves. And even as a kid, I was very muscular, even as a little girl.
Hmm.
So a part of it is genetics, but it would only take me about 3 months to really focus and get my body in order. But I had to be very disciplined. I did eat every 3 hours. I prepared all my food. They said you could have a cheat day. I don't do a cheat day. Only would do a cheat meal. I'm either in or I'm out. That's kind of my personality. I'm kind of intense. So either I'm going to do this or I'm not. The one way I do think that I had a few extra tools in my toolbox is because I was a trainer. So I would train people, maybe 3 or 4 people in the morning before I would start my day. And when I trained them, I worked out with them. So my job was to make it look easy. And so I would shift their training. I would maybe do arms and upper body with one person with the focus and do the total body workout. And then with someone else, I would switch to the lower body. I always did abs, and we always did cardio. So that was my tool. And I would know that I would probably, when I was training, I would work out anywhere from 4 to 5 hours in a day. Plus, I would have my trainer who would train me with weights. I don't like weights because I bulk up so much. And so between that and the diet and the water, it was amazing just to see my body transform from what my first competition until the last time that I competed in 2011 when I won first place for bodybuilding and women over 50, as well as second place in figure.
Nice. Yeah. And you mentioned the 4 or 5 hours. So I'm gonna bring that back to you, Kevin, because I know that both you and Marshelle both have an extremely busy schedule. And that's just by virtue of your lifestyle, your work habits, or whatever your job. So what do you do, or how do you find the time to get fitness in, one, outside of what the military may have mandated for you? And two, just being able to say, okay, this is my day. I'm focusing. I got to get this in. So how do you prepare yourself to get in that arena and do whatever it is that you need to do to stay fit? Because people are under this impression. I kind of want to debunk some myths about fitness. So
Absolutely.
What is it that you need to do? What has worked for you? What's been successful? Because some people will say, I need an hour to 3 hours of cardio a day. And sometimes it leads to other things like injury. So what works for you?
So I'll first start by saying every individual is different. You can get a good workout in 30 minutes. You can get a good workout in 45 minutes. What you do and what your plan is depends on what your goal is. For me right now, I was actually talking about that earlier today. Right now, I got all the time in the world. I got all day that I can work out. I got my gym right here in the house.
Nice.
But I was in the gym this morning working out, and I was like, I'm at about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of being in here now. It's time to do something else. But when I had the busy schedule, always moving around, always traveling, got to be at certain places at certain times. We make time for what's important, right? So sometimes that means I got to get up at 3 in the morning. Sometimes that means I got to get up at 4 in the morning. My normal schedule was wake up at 4:45. Sometimes that meant I had to get up at 2 in the morning to get a workout in, depending on what time I had to be there. But again, you make time for what's important, and that's what I've noticed is one of the biggest challenges with people who say they want to be in the best shape of their life, say they want to commit to fitness, but they only want to do it during certain times. They only want to do it when it's convenient for them. If it's really what you want, you also got to be willing to do it when it's inconvenient. Or you just accept the results that you get from only doing it when it's convenient. But don't get upset with the results you get from the work you didn't put in.
I like it. Yes.
So if it's something that somebody really wants to do, and they get disciplined about it, they put in the effort consistently, even when they're not seeing the results that they want to see after 3, 4, 5 weeks, understanding that it could take 2, 3, 4 months, they still got to stick with it. And I think that's another area where people fall short at is, I've started working out. I've been working out hard for 2 weeks straight. I need to see some results. No, you're not going to see it yet.
What do you mean I
Stick
can't get a
with the
six
plan.
pack
And
in
like
two
Marshall
weeks?
said, once you start seeing that body change,
That's
then you're
right.
like, oh, wait a minute. Now I stuck with the plan and I can do this.
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think as a nurse, one of my mottos is your health is your greatest asset.
Hmm.
If you weren't born with it and you develop an illness along the way, it is probably because of your diet, your lack of exercise, stress, whatever the case may be. So, being in the medical field, I understand that every medication has a side effect. It does not fix anything, it just puts a band aid on it. And usually, when you start taking one medication, another system breaks down and another systems break down. So, what does it do? You've got to take more medication. So, I always say to people, if you don't jack into the system, you'll be fine. The way to do that is people say, I don't have time. You have to make time. You
Hmm.
brush your teeth, you bathe, those are things that you have to do, and you have to be that serious and that concerned with your well-being that you are willing to put in the time. Just like Kevin said, you have to be willing to put the time in. Now, you people say you have to work out for hours. No, you don't. One of the things I used to tell my clients is they recommend 30 minutes of exercise a day.
Hmm.
That can be 10 minutes 3 times a day. That can be 15 minutes twice a day. My One of my ex-husbands used to tease me that and say that I made everything an exercise. And I do. Sleep on the floor. How fast can I get this in? Is my core tight? I use my whole day, my whole body all the time. In every way possible, I'm cognizant of what muscles I'm using. Now, the average person is not going to do that, but I am saying I take the stairs all the time. As a nurse, I work in a specialty area, and sometimes we have to go pick up patients. I
Hmm.
don't care on the 10th floor. The techs and people that would go with me wouldn't go. I'd be like, I'll meet you up there. Matter of fact, I may beat you. So I would run up the stairs to try to beat them in the elevator. Now, I am 63 years old. I will still run the stairs right now to this day. But what I'm saying is, you have to make the time. When you decide that you really want something different, you have to do something different. You can't keep doing the same thing. And it didn't take you 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, 2 weeks to get to where you are. It's a gradual progression of going downhill. So, or you're at a point where you have to be patient with yourself.
Hmm.
Allow yourself the time to make the transition. It is a lifestyle. I wouldn't train people just for a special event. If you're ready to make a lifestyle change, I'm with you, because health wise, it's not good for your body to yo yo weight wise. It's not good on your heart. It's not good on your kidneys. It's just not good for the body. So you just have to be ready and commit. And when you commit and give yourself the time to do the work, you'll see the results.
I love it. You're talking about commitment, discipline, and Kevin, you had mentioned goal setting. Kind of what is your goal for yourself when you look at your overall fitness and just years of being in this particular arena. What are some tips you can give people about goal setting? Because I know I'll have people come to me and say, okay, Mel, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, well, how are we going to get there? I don't know. I just want to lose it. But what are you giving people? What are the things that you're using to get to your goals? And what's your, and I guess motivation may not be the word that I'm really looking for here, but how do you set your goals and what can you share with the audience about setting goals for themselves, things that are achievable?
Yeah, motivation is absolutely a part of it. You either have intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is always the best because that's in you, that's internal. That means that's something that you desire. Extrinsic motivation means you need external factors to get you motivated, and that's when you often fail.
Mhm.
Motivation is absolutely a part of it. But with goals, they got to be realistic. If you want to lose 25 pounds, you got to give yourself more than 2 weeks to do it.
Absolutely.
You got to give yourself the appropriate amount of time to do it healthy instead of doing, crash diets and different medications or whatever
Hmm.
that often have negative impacts once it's all said and done.
They
Um,
will.
if you give yourself the appropriate amount of time and do it the right way, it's a lot more sustainable. But with the goals, you got to be realistic with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself, and you got to want it enough to stick with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing for me to do when it comes to health and fitness is to stick with my meal plans. I love all the foods that I'm not supposed to eat. I love the cakes, the pies. I love all the foods I'm not supposed to eat. Sometimes I got to say, hey, you can get it once you reach this goal.
Okay.
That's my external motivation coming in. I've got the intrinsic motivation saying that this is the goal that I want to achieve. Now I'm leaning on that external motivation saying, okay, I want this, but let me reach this goal. Let me reach this step in my goal first.
Mm-hmm.
And like Marshelle said, the cheat days. I also don't do cheat days when I'm really focused on what it is I'm trying to achieve. I do a cheat meal
Mm-hmm.
after I reach a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't start off from the beginning saying, okay, every weekend I'm gonna have a cheat meal. No, you gotta be disciplined for a certain amount of time, and then once you reach this milestone, then you get you a little piece of cake or have your cheat meal or something like that. But then I've also found that once you really focused on it, even when it's time for that cheat meal, sometimes you don't want it.
You don't want it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And just to kind of build off that, so this one is for you too, for you, Marshelle. So Kevin was talking about the cakes, the different things that, and that's all of us, that's human nature. It's what we want, what we want sometimes. But I have a question about carbs because you will have so many people that will say, carbs are bad. I don't want them. I'm not going to eat them. Can you speak to that piece because you've been in the arena where you've competed, and I do realize whenever you're competing, there's a strict regimen that you're going to follow. However, can you just talk to the audience about this myth of should I do carbs or shouldn't I do carbs, and what a healthy carb looks like?
So carbs are a complex sugar. And carbs are happy foods. So I can tell you when I was training and I wasn't eating carbs, I was very angry because they're happy foods. However, the thing with carbs is you have to use them for what they're used for. Carbohydrates are energy that you can use later for activity. If you continue to consume more carbs, well, first of all, let me say you have to burn more calories than you take in. Mm-hmm. Carbs are usually high in calories and they're high in sugar. Sugar that is not utilized is turned to fat. So it's important that you use carbs for what they're worth. Now, I'm concerned. One of the things that concerns me about these United States of America is what our carbs are made of. If you notice people in Europe, they eat bread every day and they don't gain a pound. They're not big. They walk. There's a lot of walking. There's a lot of activity. But I do believe the carbs here in the United States are different than carbs in other countries. There are additives in the breads, in the pastas, in the carbohydrates that we eat that are not good for you. So from that perspective, we have that stacked against us. Mm-hmm. I personally don't eat bread except for cornbread. Cornbread's my favorite.
Cornbread is my favorite. From St. Louis, I'm like,
cornbread is my favorite. However, I don't eat bread on a sandwich. I usually will use my lettuce as my bread. I'm not big on pasta. If I do eat it, it's whole wheat. But some people who are who can't tolerate the wheat, who are gluten intolerant, can't do the wheat. So I think people just kind of have to find what works best for them. But I limit my carbs. Bread goes straight to the middle. I don't even know any other way to explain that. Mm-hmm. It goes to the middle. And so it leads to that visceral, that body fat right in the middle. So I do limit my bread. I just say if you're going to eat it, you got to burn it. So if you're going to eat a sandwich, don't eat a whole sandwich. Eat an open face sandwich. You know, when I was training different people, and I would do an inventory on what they ate. If you're going to eat a sandwich for lunch every day, I didn't just say don't eat any sandwiches. I said, can we break that down to maybe 3 sandwiches a week? And once I got them down to 2 sandwiches a week and replaced that with some fresh vegetables, a salad or whatever, I was saying, now, can we do an open face sandwich? Because you really don't need all of the bread unless you're going to use those carbs for later. So that's how I feel about carbohydrates, is that you have to take them and put them to work for you, because a carbohydrate is only a complex sugar. If that sugar is not broken down and used, it turns to fat.
Okay.
Athletes
And
use carbs all the time. Athletes carb load before they have a big track meet, football
That's
game,
right.
whatever it is. They use those carbs. They take those carbs in and then burn them at their athletic event. It happens all the
Absolutely.
time. Use the carbs appropriately.
I
Yes.
love it. And with you, Kevin, I know you met earlier. You mentioned you got people that we're just going to talk about diet, right? Again, because I know from your field of expertise, you've probably seen a lot of individuals that go on the fast, the crash diets, whatever it is, because by virtue of your job and your career, people are just trying to, in a sense, stay healthy, so they think, to make numbers or whatever. Speaking to that piece, what would you tell a person that's getting into, I call them unhealthy cycles, whether it's the binge dieting, the whatever, the medication, whatever? What would you tell an individual? Because if I'm looking at you, truth be told, whether I'm a male or female, you look absolutely amazing. And any male that's sitting out there that see your photos, like, okay, what is he doing? You know, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna go ahead and do a fast from 12 to 2 and eat 1 peanut. Like, nah, you got to find out what people are doing just to get healthy and not crash dieting. So, what do you think about all that?
I think, just my opinion, I think the driving force behind those plans, those diets, is lack of patience. People want to hurry up and lose weight. That's usually the goal. The goal is not necessarily to be fit. The goal is not to build muscle. The goal is 9 times out of 10 to lose weight. And they find the quickest way they can to lose weight. And it does lose weight for them. So they'll, do it. They'll lose weight. They'll fall off of it, put the weight back on, come back to it, lose weight again, fall off of it, it's that cycle. But I think if they're interested in adopting a healthy lifestyle, they have to be patient and be willing to change some of the things that they would normally do. Change sleeping in till 8 o'clock a.m. when you could get up at 6 a.m. to get a workout in. Change stopping at McDonald's on the way home from work because you didn't, have a mid-afternoon snack, maybe some almonds or something that would sustain you till you got to dinner. Just, change some of the things that they would normally do, and not look for the quick, easy way that's going to end up being a repetitive cycle, and adopt a healthy lifestyle that's sustainable.
So with that, I know changing behaviors for a lot of people are hard. Behavior modification is probably going to be one of the hardest things to kind of sell. I want to say sell to an individual that is wanting to come into fitness and so-called get healthy. So from your perspective, what type of tips would you give them to make those small changes and modifications?
Me or
Either one.
Kevin? Okay. The one thing I would say is fast food. Fast foods is probably one of the biggest hurdles that Americans face right now, because people, like you mentioned, Kevin, are very impatient. They want immediate gratification, and being healthy is not something that happens immediately. It is a lifestyle change. Being able to go past the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, the Chick-fil-A's, and actually go home and prepare a meal, or prep your food at the beginning of the week. Cook up all your meat, cut up all your vegetables so that when you come home, all you have to do is throw it to steam your vegetables, or make a salad and throw some protein on the salad. Keep it simple. I don't eat any frozen vegetables. I am one for fresh vegetables. I was raised near a market. And I was raised, my mother would go to the market every week and buy our vegetables for the week. I know some people say it's just hard to do that. It's not really that difficult to grab a head of broccoli, chop it up, put it in small snack bags. Those are your bags for your meals as you move forward. And even with your salads, to do your salads, have your lettuce, but cut up all of the things that you want on your lettuce, place them in little snack bags, put them in a salad, pop it open, boom, there's your salad. So from a healthy eating perspective, I think you just have to start, I didn't stop eating red meat, one meat at a time. I started with my least favorite meat. I gave up beef. The next red meat was pork. Now that was hard for me because I love my pork chops. I love the bacon. I love the pastrami. I love, the pepperoni. And I gave myself a time frame and I said, okay, I'm letting this meat go. The last one was the chicken. And so then I gave up my chicken. But once you let it go, and even when you eat it, your body responds differently to it. And so I'm glad I made the choice. And I made the choice simply because if I had my own cows, I wouldn't eat a pig. But if I had my own cow, if I had my own chickens, I might eat a little beef. I might eat a little chicken. However, the store-bought foods that we have now, they're so full of antibiotics. They're so full of hormones. It's just not healthy. And beef stays in your body for 30 days. So imagine one piece of beef stays in there and through your intestines for 30 days. So as you continue to compile that on whatever that cow they gave that cow sits in your body. That additive sits in your body. And that's why I believe that we have as much cancer as we do today, because of the carcinogens that they're feeding the animals that we are putting in our body.
So with that, and I'm gonna bring this question to you, Kevin, because you're talking about, Marshelle, you're talking about the beef, the different carcinogens, all the stuff in the meat. But when we're looking at, we'll use young soldiers as an example, because I know over the years you've had a lot of those. And I know fast food is their thing or whatever. But if you were going to talk to them about shopping and going to the grocery store and what they needed to do, because right now I would probably tell you, listen, sorry, Major, I can't, or Kevin, I can't afford some beef because it's like $900,000 a pound. So I'm just going to eat these potato chips and mind my business. So what little tips can you give soldiers and or the audience that's listening? It doesn't necessarily have to be soldiers, because eventually we all take off the uniform and we're all trying to get healthy, because our health is our wealth, and we're moving toward an age where people are living a lot longer and looking a lot younger. So what would you tell them about shopping and eating, and how do you do it? Because I'm just curious.
Well,
Because
the
somebody
way I
wants
do
to
it is
know in the
the
audience.
way I do it is probably not the best way for everybody else, because when I'm really getting strict into my meal plans, I'll pay a meal ordering service to prep my meals for me, and I just
Oh, we're not
order.
rich like that. We can't do that.
I ain't rich like that either. That's why sometimes I don't do it. But I think, again, I kind of go back to what I said earlier with me and my nutrition plans. Um, Even the bad stuff can be okay as long as you don't overdo it.
Mhm.
If you eating chips every day, you got a problem. If you eat chips, once every couple of weeks, just a couple of, a little bit of chips, not a whole bag of them, a few chips, once every couple of weeks, it's okay. But Marshelle, you probably know better than I do. From what I understand, when you go in the grocery store, you shop the outside aisles. Once you get into those interior aisles, that's when the food gets worse and worse.
It does.
Yeah. So just whatever you do, if you can't have the healthy stuff all the time and you need something that's gonna, I don't know, hold you over every now and then, just don't overdo it. Do it in moderation.
I
Um,
agree.
be cognizant of how much of the unhealthy stuff you're eating, because a lot of times we get the box with the little bags of chips, and then we
Hmm.
might eat two or three of those. Well, shit, we might as well have got the big bag of chips and just ate the one big bag, right?
I love that. And it's funny you should say that because somebody threw a question out here. They said, and this is for either one of you, and I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. The question is, how do you feel about chocolate as a form of energy? Now, mind you, answering that question, I'm not sure who put it out there, but if we could just talk about the milk chocolate versus the
Yes.
dark chocolate or whatever the case may be. So, how do you see that? What do you think about that as a form of energy?
I'm not a chocolate eater. I'm gonna let Marshelle speak on that one.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Well, I'm not a chocolate either. However, if you choose to do chocolate, I would say the darker the chocolate, the better for you. The However, the one thing about chocolate is a sugar. So if you can take that chocolate and use it immediately, it might work. But I'm not a chocolate consumer. I don't like chocolate. My only sweet that I have a weakness for is key lime pie.
So you're telling me if I'm in my office and I got a jar of chocolate sitting on my desk full of mini sized Snickers, probably about 50 of them in there, I shouldn't be eating all those all day and then be hiding bags in my drawer, right?
I
I
would
mean,
say
first of all, if you want to be committed and dedicated to a healthier lifestyle, you wouldn't have that jar sitting in your office.
I was gonna say you don't purchase it. That's the other thing. You don't What you don't buy, you don't eat. If you
Okay.
don't put the candy, the cookies, the cake, the ice cream, if you don't buy it, you will not eat it. Now, I am a chipaholic. I'm gonna start a group because and I will confess Marshall, I am a chipaholic. I love potato chips. I don't buy them though because if I buy them, I'll eat them. If I do, I look at the serving size. That's the other thing I was going to say. Look at your wrappers. Look at the serving size. If a serving size is 15 chips, eat 15 chips and put it down. You can come back tomorrow and eat 15 more chips. But don't sit there. If you look at that whole bag and you look at the caloric intake, that's for the serving size. So if
Well,
that
what if I
bag
tell you I'm
is
sure there are only
serving,
15 chips in there and the rest of it was air at the top of the bag?
absolutely. Absolutely. You probably only have no more than 35, 40 chips in there. But again, if you look at the back, I always tell people, look at your labels. Look at the amount of sugar. I don't eat anything that says it has cholesterol in it.
Hmm.
I don't eat it. As much as love, there was a donut factory in St. Louis called Wonder Bread, and they made these wonderful cake donuts. They were powder and they were chocolate. And every now and then I would get nostalgic and say, you know what? I think I'm going to have me a donut. Every time I flipped that package over and it said the amount of cholesterol that was in it, I said, I can't do it. I can't put that in my body. I can't knowingly eat something that says it has cholesterol in it. I can't do it. So once you get to that point too of looking at what you're eating, if it has so many additives on that container that you can't pronounce it, put it down. Because
Okay.
all of those are just additives and they're things that your body doesn't even know what to do with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. And just
I,
to
I, I
add on
think
to
back
that, I
to
do. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, just speaking to what Marshelle was just saying. I think back to COVID, when COVID kicked off and everybody was on at home doing telework, right? I had my quote unquote office set
Hmm.
up at my countertop in my kitchen on the little island.
Hmm.
That was a bad idea because I'm in the kitchen
Yes.
all day where
Yes.
all the food is.
Yes.
And while I'm sitting right there, I'm in the meeting. I'm looking up and I'm seeing the snacks over there, and I know what's in the refrigerator, and I know where this food. So I was eating a lot because I was sitting right there with the food.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a decision to take my office, move it upstairs to a bedroom that was upstairs, so that if I if I had that desire to go get a snack or something, I actually got to get up, go down the hall, go downstairs, get my snack, come back, go back upstairs, get into this meeting. And a lot of times I say, you know what, I don't feel like going.
Absolutely.
Okay. I like that. So with that, I have a question, Kevin. Like if someone is coming to you asking, because the audience will want to know, I'm trying to lose weight, and you can speak from the perspective of just what males may come to you and ask, how are you losing the weight and building the muscle? That is a big thing, especially in, let's be real, as we start maturing, it gets a lot harder to get those results. So, what does your regiment somewhat look like? And I know everybody's not going to start where you're at because you've been doing it for a long time. But if you have a novice individual coming into the arena to start fitness, what would you tell them? Because a lot of men, realistically, I want to put on the muscle and I want to lean out. So, what kind of tips would you have for them?
First thing I would tell them is don't try to lift the gym.
Mhm.
Lifting heavy is not going to get you the results you want. Lifting heavy is going to ultimately end up injuring your making your joints and your bones and everything else hurt. Um, I stopped lifting heavy years ago, and when I say heavy, in perspective, heavy for me. I think the most out if I'm on a bench, the most I'll bench now is maybe 205 or 225.
Hmm.
Um, but there was a time where I would bench 375. Why? I don't need to do that.
Mhm.
Just find you a routine that works for you. I would say 2 to 3 routines that work for you that you can rotate between. Um, do a workout routine for maybe 6 weeks, switch to another routine for maybe 6 weeks, switch to another routine for maybe 6 weeks, and then come back to the first one because your body's a resilient. Your body gets used to doing the same thing repetitively.
Hmm.
Um, but once you make that switch, then it kind of sends your body into shock, and you start seeing progress again.
Hmm.
Um, find your 2 to 3 routines that you can stick to consistently.
Hmm.
You don't have to lift all the weights in the gym. You don't have to put every weight on the bar to just to build muscle and get stronger. Um, the ultimate goal is to be healthy, not to hurt yourself.
That's true.
Leave the when you go to the gym, leave the ego at home.
Mhm.
Ego lifting gets you nowhere.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um, the biggest part of it, though, people think that if I go to the gym and I work out every day, I'm gonna my body's gonna change and I'm gonna be in the best shape of my life.
Mhm.
Our bodies are like machines. If you don't feed it the right fuel, you're
That's
not
right.
going to get the results you want. I
I
don't
like
care. You cannot outwork a bad diet.
I love it. I love it. And with that, I like that. Marshall, so with that, um, and I know we're getting close to time, but I do have a question, kind of caveating off what Kevin said. We start talking about the um, proper diet, the nutrition, the fuel to put in your body. And I just kind of want to circle back to the whole yo yo dieting and the things that people do to try to lose the weight quickly. From a medical profession standpoint, just if you could just briefly talk about some of the implications to the body that people may not even know exist. Because it's like, okay, well, great, I lost this weight. I look great in this suit. I look great in this little cute black dress. But the reality is, what are the medical implications behind all that?
The terrible thing about losing weight too quickly is the skin doesn't have the opportunity to catch up. So part of the challenge is a lot of people, especially when they do things like the sleeves and some of the diets, they lose the weight and then they have
What's
this.
the sleeve?
It's a gastric procedure.
Uh,
Any of the gastric procedures where they decrease the size of someone's stomach, so that you can only take in so much. And if you take in the wrong foods, it'll make you sick. And a lot of people are doing that, and they will lose the weight, and they lose it very quickly. They don't usually accompany it with an exercise routine. It's because their body can only consume so much, and if they eat too much, they literally will get sick. A lot of times, people who do some of the surgical things like that, or some of the dietary things, like even the Ozempic, you're malnourished, number one, because you can't take in enough food. Number two, it affects your kidneys, it affects your liver, it affects your digestive system. So from that perspective, you end up with health issues as a result of utilizing some of those fast methods. So the thing I always tell people, diets don't work. You just have to be patient. And when you do these quick things, you're absolutely right. Just even the yo-yoing effect, it's hard on the heart, because the heart is trying to pump blood through a mass that has decreased. So now the heart may not have to work as hard. And then all of a sudden, you've increased this mass, and now the body has to work harder to push this blood through this mass, this body mass, and they have more circulating volume. I mean, the kidneys are affected. So with those things that happen, the body can't handle that. And so you end up with some permanent damage, a lot of times to your pancreas, sometimes to your liver, sometimes to your kidneys. The blood pressure is uncontrollable. The diabetes is back and forth. The terrible thing about uncontrollable diabetes is it affects every system in the body. When your sugars are up and down, it creates sugars they're like crystals. So they tear the blood vessels. So in shearing the blood vessels, you end up with cardiac issues. So it's a snowball effect when you start to tamper with your body and having these yo-yo type situations, this weight loss, this weight gain, this without taking the proper steps to do the exercise, to learn to eat the proper foods to maintain the weight that you'd like to stay at. And again, it's not about the weight. It's about being healthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think another part that we people in general miss is, and we've kind of shown it in this podcast. What we've talked about in this podcast in regards to health and fitness is nutrition and exercise. We haven't talked about sleep. We haven't talked about mental well-being. We haven't talked about social well-being. We haven't talked about the total picture of health and fitness. Yes. All we've talked about is nutrition and fitness. But there are other aspects in that play a huge role. Yes. I just use mental fitness as an example. If you're in a state of depression, you're not going to want to work out. You're going to eat the bad foods. But if you focus to make sure that your mental health is right, you can then provide a little more focus on your nutrition and your fitness. If you're social, maybe you got problems at home with your marriage, you're not going to be all right. You go in the gym to try to work out and get rid of some of the frustrations, but you're just in there going through the motions. Right. And then you probably go back and eat something that's probably not bad for you, something that's comfort food. Yes. It's a bigger picture than just eating the right foods and going in the gym and working out.
I love that, the whole person.
I totally agree. If I could, I know we're about to run out of time, but you're right. The mental aspect, first of all, we have to love ourselves. You have to learn to love you. When you learn to love you, you treat you better. You don't stay in situations that are not healthy for you. So that's the first step, is loving you. One of my regular practices is a gratification journal. I write down every day 5 to 10 to 15 things that I am grateful for, which puts you in a different mindset. Because once you can be grateful for things, you can see more things that you're grateful for. The other thing you mentioned, sleep. The body heals when you sleep. You burn calories when you sleep. but cells can't rejuvenate if they don't get the proper rest and hydration. So sleep is a major factor that really does affect the wellness, people's well-being overall. So I totally agree with you, Kevin, on that.
Okay.
Right.
And I have a question. This is just for me because I have people ask me this all the time. I know you both do different forms of fitness. So what do you prefer? Weight training or body weight And if you have a preference, why? Or what would you tell the audience about one or the other? And just
My preference
like
has
a
always
parting
been,
comment.
yeah, my preference has always been just traditional weight training.
Okay.
Why? Because that's what I grew up with. You know, that's what I've known since my dad took me to the gym in the seventh grade. You know, that's what I've always grew up with. I see, you know, the other forms of training, the CrossFit and stuff. I've never attempted CrossFit. To me, it looks like it could be hard on your joints. I'm not sure. That's just my perception. When one thing that I did adopt when I would be preparing for a fitness test, or the ACFT or AFT, would be about a week before my PT test. I would just strictly do yoga just to loosen my body up, loosen my limbs up, loosen my joints up, so that when it was time for me to take this test, I wasn't tight from lifting weights. My body was loose because I'd focused on flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's not something that I did regularly. I would only do it to test every 6 months, so I would do it every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's benefit in it though. Yeah, but for me, it's just been traditional weight training.
Well, for the shout out for yoga, come do it 3 days a week. It's good for the body.
It is good.
It is great.
It's hard. Some of them positions y'all be talking about, put your leg over here and your head over there. I can't do that.
When you're able to reach down and tie your shoe and you're 95, you'll be
You'll love
grateful.
Yeah.
And what about you, Marshelle?
For me, I would say body weight. And I say that, first of all, you need to have a combination of weight training and body weight, along with multiple activities. Yoga is definitely a great one. However, people always say they don't have time. They feel like they have to go to a place. Mm-hmm. And so when you use your own body weight to hold a plank, when you use your own body weight to do some dips on the steps, that for me it makes it more achievable, to make it more realistic, so that you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to leave your home. You don't have to go anywhere. So from that perspective, I say learn to use the body weight, and your body's not going to harm you. Sometimes, I know for me, I get very strong very quickly. So the one thing I always want to do is add some more weight. Well, once you add weight, like you said, Kevin, it's hard on the joints, and I end up tearing something. So the thing is when you are able to manage your own weight, then that is like the perfect fit for the body to make the transition. So I do a little bit of both, but I try to get people to focus on using their own body weight so they don't have to go anywhere. That wellness piece can be done right in the comfort of your own home. The one thing I also want to say is it's important. You talked about getting up early in the morning and getting your workout in. Everything comes up in the day. If you can choose one time where you will not be interrupted, because you have to be consistent. You have to, that's what works. You have to be consistent. That means before everybody else is up, before you got to go to work, before you got to take care of the kids, before you got to do whatever you have to do, mornings is consistency. It supports consistency throughout the day. Somebody gonna need something somewhere, and you're you're off the program. So I just wanted to add that little tidbit.
I love that.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
That's been my mentality for the longest.
Yeah.
I have to get it in early in the morning. Mm-hmm. If I can't get it in early in the morning, I'll try to get it in the afternoon or evening. But like you said, something always comes up through the day. You get pulled left and right, and now you're tired, and it's too late to take a pre-workout because you're going to be up all night and you're going to miss that sleep part. Just get up in the morning, get it in.
Yeah,
I love it. With that, I want to thank both of you for being on. I feel like I definitely will have to have you both back because I have a multitude of questions coming in from the audience. But if you had to leave a parting thought with the audience on health and wellness tonight, what would that be? Either one of you can go first.
The one thing I was asked this question by my lady the other day. What's my a phrase that I always say? Make progress, not excuses.
Love it.
That's a good one.
It's easy to come up
I've
with
stole
excuses.
that a couple of times off your page, just so you know.
Make progress, not excuses.
And what about you, Marshelle?
For me, it doesn't take all day to do what you got to do to maintain your health.
Okay.
It doesn't take all day. So that 30 minutes, 10 minutes 3 times a day, 5 minutes 6 times, however you have to do it, get it in.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, Marshelle, we have
Thank
come to the end, but I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your schedule and just putting some knowledge out there into the environment, into the atmosphere for individuals, because we're getting ready to go into the busy holiday season. And I know people will find excuse on top of excuse. So don't let the season and the holiday be the reason why you don't achieve your fitness goal. It doesn't have to be the new year. You heard it from Kevin and Marshelle. Stay disciplined and get fit.
Enjoy your cheat meal. Don't make it a lifestyle.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you for having
I
me.
appreciate both of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're welcome.
you.
Have a good day.
Have a good night.
All right.